Can you believe that in a week, from right this very moment, I will be enjoying Halloween Horror Nights 25? Because yes, I did get into preview night once again, and I want to thank my team member friend for helping me do so. And a preemptive thanks for getting my friend Joe in as well. Plus, it sounds like a couple of my friends are going to be there, so hopefully I'm going to get to see my friends like Jeremy and Tyler. I know Tyler will be there. Jeremy will definitely be there, hopefully, and I also want to see Mr. Entertainment, so Aaron hopefully will be there. So we have a nice little group at Employee Preview Night. So that being said, it is Wednesday, and we're going to talk Halloween Horror Nights, and it seems like only yesterday, Halloween Horror Nights 24 ended. Yeah, sad state of affairs. All my friends were in the last Bill and Ted show. I was sitting in my computer chair, which is right next to me. It's what I hit there. And I was listening to audio from the show. So technically we were experiencing the same thing. But oh no, the people that got to see it live got to see so much more. A lot more improv. And of course, Mike came out and did Smile Goodbye himself live. That was awesome. He actually did it in person. That was really cool. And right then I realized I had to go. 2015, when it came around, I would have to be there for the final Bill and Ted show. I would have to do something I've not done in a long time, and that is spend Halloween in a theme park. So that's exactly what I did. And I worked out the plan for this being the anniversary. The 25th anniversary of my first trip to Orlando. And I was going to do it big. I was going to go Disney World and Disneyland in the same time frame and do both Universal Studios, Florida, and Hollywood. But it fell through. Why did it fall through? Basically because my trip planning skills are on point, but I couldn't justify spending 3 days in California and then flying all the way back to Orlando and then going to Horror Nights that weekend and then flying back here. So I put that on hold. And to do something major for this year, I just decided I'm going to do 3 weeks of Halloween Horror Nights, completely utilize the Rush of Fear Pass every single night of the event, all 10 event nights. And then I was going to come back here, work a couple weeks, and go back for closing week and be there for, yes, the final showing of Bill and Ted. And that's exactly what happened. Via the power of my Disney Vacation Club membership, which does have its perks every once in a while, I am able to afford to be able to do this. I am staying at the Animal Kingdom Lodge in Jumbo House. I'm moving over to Pop Century with my mom, who's actually coming down to meet me for about a week. And then we are going to move over to the Hard Rock, which is kind of like a late birthday present for me, because my birthday is in a couple weeks. And I've always wanted to stay at the Hard Rock because everyone knows how big of a mark for the Hard Rock Cafe brand I am. I want to stay at the Hard Rock Hotel. That gets us express passes for that night and the day we check out, which is the day we check in at Cabana Bay. And I'll be in Cabana Bay until October 5th. My mom will depart and I will be joined by my friend Jeff, which is the K-pop nerd. And we will be roommates until the event is over. Well, my portion of that first part of the event is over on October 5th when I come back here. And, of course, in that time frame, the week before, Tristan and James and Rowley are going to come down. And also, it sounds like we could get Clarence coming down. We're going to have Jose from Thrill Seeker Network coming down. And SoCal Horror Fans could be coming down. So, a lot of California is coming to Orlando this year. And that's also when we're going to be doing the Pop Meetups on October 1st without Express, and October 4th with Express. So I was going to do this right. And the fact that we are literally a week away from preview night, which means we are now in the single digits for the general public. Opening night's in 9 days right now. It's crazy, isn't it? It just seems like only yesterday. Like I said, I reminisced a little bit earlier. Now we're going to move forward. So I'm sitting on a stool, so I'm trying to get comfortable. Now the thing about it is this is a new thing to me. I'm not used to it. So I did a video. A while back. August 31st, I believe is what it was. And I talked about the final IP maze announced for Halloween Horror Nights 25. And that's the return of 2013's great success, An American Werewolf in London. And now, I'm going to talk about the original content. And oh my god, I'm excited for the original content this year. Both mazes and scare zones and the original content going to be involved in the shows we're going to see. There's going to be a lot of really great things that are going to be coming our way for Halloween Horror Nights 25, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of them. The reason I waited a little bit longer is, number one, I'm a procrastinator. But mainly, the reason I waited so long is because I wanted to wait until media preview was over. And last night was media preview. And we got a lot more looks at what we're going to see in the mazes and the scare zones, and even the shows. And of course, Jack the Clown came out and made a special appearance, and that sounded amazing. And they got to go through Insidious, and I heard nothing but great things. But we'll talk about my anticipation for the houses later on. We'll do my most anticipated and least anticipated maze and scare zones of the event. But right now, we're going to go one by one into the original content of Halloween Horror Nights 25. Now, this was released on August 27th in a big info dump that happened at 12:01 a.m. So technically, if you look at it from that perspective, as I can't do math, make sure I've got this right. Yeah, technically it was Friday morning, because Thursday night would have been 11:59 p.m. So Friday morning, 12:01 a.m., which is August 28th, technically, that's when we got all our information. The info about An American Werewolf in London, which I've already talked about, and all the originals coming to the event, including the return of Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. So I'm going to talk about them one by one. And I'm also going to include some info that was given in the media preview that they got last night. So we're going to talk about everything, and I'm also going to give my thoughts personally on them. So this is your big Orlando video, so sit back, relax, and listen to the dulcet tones of Suro and Disney. Let's start with the first house, and my god, this is a house I've been super excited for. This is a house that I've been anticipating since day one, when we first heard the code word Blizzard. And we found out via way too early, obviously. We've talked about that in the past. No need to bring that up again, because obviously that wound is still fresh, like other ones, which we'll talk about those later. This was something that sounded amazing. You were going to have the body collectors inside Shady Brook Asylum. This was going to take place during a great blizzard that took place in 1888. And this is the information that we got. The body collectors are on the hunt for the human parts they so desperately need. Emerging from the darkness on a cold winter's night, they descended upon unknowing inhabitants of the Shady Brook Asylum. Get ready to face their sharpened blades as the screams of their recent victims echo through the halls. Now, looking through the concept art, number one, wow. It looks really, really detailed. And looking at the old pictures of Shady Brook Asylum, it looks a lot different, but it's still similar at the same time. If that makes any sense, I'll probably say that a couple times in this video. But I will state right now that it's got a blue tinge to it. As I get comfortable here. Hi. And it looks even more like Arkham Asylum than ever before. Yeah, it's clear that Shady Brook is Arkham Asylum. Obviously, Jack the Clown equals the Joker, and everyone knows the chance is Harley Quinn. Stop that, Jack, seriously. So, if you don't realize, every time I bring up the beautiful one's name, Jack uses black magic or something to make me scratch myself looking an idiot on camera. That's the reason why I gotta watch myself here. But if I say it fast enough, maybe he won't catch me. That's the way out. So, sharpened blue lighting. Body Collectors debuted in 2005, and they were very successful. Body Collectors are based upon The Gentleman from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, an episode called Hush. Hence the clue I did in the Wrestling Connection video with John Cena Need Not Apply. Thought that was hilarious. And they were in a scare zone called Horror Comes Home, and that was in 2006. They were a part of Collections of the Past, and they had a scare zone called Streets of Blood in 2008. And finally, they were involved in the 20 Years of Fear scare zone in 2010. Now, there's going to be an Easter egg in the house that Mike Aiello actually talked about, and that's the fact, look for a baby being born in Shady Brook. Who could that be? It's anyone's guess. We shall find out. Now, one major thing that it was exciting about the original Body Collectors maze was the fact that there was a literal spine rip. The Body Collectors literally ripped someone's spine out. And the spine being on the table at Media Night lets me know that is coming back. And I'm super excited about this. There's going to be snow effects inside, because obviously it's taking place inside a blizzard. And we have windows showing that basically snow is going to be falling, and it's going to be great. It's going to be cold, it's going to be snow. It's something I'm really looking forward to. Now, the assistants kind of have masks, kind of like Bane, so that's the best way to describe it. And I'm really excited because one major thing about this maze, it's an origin story. This is the origin of how the body collectors came to be. Who knew that the body collectors came out of Shady Brook, one way or another, out of this blizzard in 1888? It's insane. But it's something we're really excited about. And something I'm really excited about. This is located in Soundstage 24A. This is where Alien vs. Predator was last year. But strangely enough, the Q location is going to be where Dracula Untold was last year, next to the New York Library facade. So that's where we're going to queue up there. Our second maze, Asylum in Wonderland in 3D. Now this is the first time that the Shrek building has been used for a maze. And I think there's a really good chance this is not going to be the last time. I really think this is going to be your new maze location from this moment forward. Obviously, in a minute I'll talk about something we're losing, so we're obviously going to be keeping something. I don't think we're going down from 9 houses until we move up to 10, and I think come that magic number of 30, that's when we'll probably move to 10 mazes instead of 9. God knows what the price point and what Express is going to cost by that point. It's going to be a necessity. So much so that it may be everyone in Express, and then no one's going to be in the regular line, and the regular line's going to be like a Express pass of its own. Makes perfect sense to me. A new volume of Scary Tales has been released by Ultraviolet Comics. Now, you may know Ultraviolet Comics. They brought up The In-Between in 2011. This time around, you'll follow the White Rabbit through the Looking Glass and into a murderous 3D Wonderland. All the beloved characters coming to life in this chaotic world with an insane, nightmarish twist. You'll be left asking one question. Is this all really in Alice's mind? Or are the images you see real enough to kill you? This is something I'm interested in. If you look, spoiler alert, if you look on my list, it's very low. But, I will say right now, in one form or another, I'm interested in every single maze this year. So don't let a list fool you later on in the video. I'm just basically telling you that right off the top. I'm still interested in this maze. Like I said, when it comes back to The In-Between, talking about The Facade, which was the In-Between comic from Ultraviolet Comics, I thought that that may possibly be, maybe The Facade. I believe that was brought up in chat. I'm pretty sure Tyler said that, actually. I think Tyler said it, honestly. Homemade Haunt, so shout out to him. Not the first time I'm going to mention him, definitely not the last. So, this was a successful Scarezone in 2008. And this is another connection to Shady Brook. So Shady Brook's everywhere sprinkled out. Obviously, Shady Brook is part of the Body Collectors, Recollections, and it's part of Shady Brook Unleashed, which is going to be the Scare Zone taking over the Halloween block party in New York. Obviously, Jack is a big part in every single thing in this event, so a connection to Shady Brook technically, and Jack presents 25 Years of Monsters Mayhem. So Shady Brook is everywhere. Everywhere. And it's definitely prevalent here, because the inmates pretty much went bonkers when they looked into Bloody Mary's mirror in 2008, and they decided to become these Lewis Carroll creations. So inside this maze, you're going to see Alice, who, by Media Night, we know is going to be a patient that is actually going to be clad in a straitjacket. You're going to see the Mad Hatter, which looks to me like something that comes out of the Goosebumps books. You have the White Rabbit, who kind of has like a fencing-style mask with the rabbit ears, like Donnie Darko style, but it has kind of like a Hannibal Lecter twist to it. You have the March Hare, the Queen of Hearts, you have a Tweedledee and Tweedledum. You saw a version of that called Tweedle Tweak. And everyone knows the familiar sensory experience that happens when we run into the caterpillar. This is going to be trippy in every way possible. Sensory overload, to say the least, and I could see a lot of misdirection. I think if any place, this is the location of the spinning tunnel this year. And there is a possibility that it could be the spinning tunnel and the crouch this year. Who knows? Maybe the crouch is going to be saved for later on. We'll talk about that when we progress. I think actually I know where the crouch is going to be. I think the crouch is actually going to be coming up in a little bit, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Apparently you're going to be bouncing back and forth between two realms. So you're going to be going into Alice's world and into Wonderland as well. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. So it should be fun. You kind of have like inmates running like an Alice in Wonderland type. I think it's going to be great, and I think it looks interesting. This is going to be located, like I said, in the Shrek venue, and the weird queue is going to be right near Mel's Die-In, and that's going to be around the Transformers meet and greet. So that should be where they queue up. So I will know more completely on Wednesday, next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, because obviously it's today. So, as I can't get comfortable on camera here, that's something I'm looking forward to. Something I'm extremely looking forward to, and that is Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. This is a game show, and I'm going to read the synopsis here. Congratulations. You've been selected to be one of the lucky contestants on Run, the most popular and brutal television show in the world. In this maze, you'll have to try to avoid the skilled assassins known as Reapers, as you work through death obstacles, designed to mangle and shred all for the amusement of the audience watching from home. The higher the body count, the higher the ratings go up. If you're not paying attention, then you probably wouldn't pick up right on the way, but if you look at some description, we're talking about The Running Man. That's exactly what this is. This is based in 1987, and it's pretty much The Running Man in every way possible, but there's one twist. Now, the rumors obviously were that we were going to get a 10th maze this year, and it fell through. If you believe any of the rumors, which, like I said, take it with a grain of salt, sea salt, because it's healthier, you would know that it was going to be based in Hellgate Prison. Then there was a quick rumor that there was going to be another scare zone located in South Street, which, strangely enough, is very close to the location to Asylum in Wonderland's queue. That was going to be a Hellgate Prison themed. Hence why I talked about the Big Boss Man and Nails when I did the statements video. Now, the interesting thing about that was they got to thinking, and they're like, okay, we want to do Run. We don't have necessarily a concept for it. We want to go back to the game show. We don't want to go for the hostile, like we did with Hostile Territory. So we want to do it differently. And we want to go back to the game show, but where to put it? Wait a minute. We already have the thought about doing Hellgate this year. Why don't we put Run instead of Run Down, pun not intended, Hellgate Prison? And maybe, just maybe, the people that were running Run at the time broke Warden Strickland out of the facility that he was put in and brought him up to host. Yeah, because you need like a Richard Dawson style host who more perfect than Warden Strickland. Like, seriously, think about it. Robert L. Strickland makes perfect sense. Really does. So, this is the third in the series. Obviously, we talked about the original Run, which was supposed to be Eddie's house, and that fell through because of the tragedies of 9/11. And Eddie was completely kicked out of Run. When we went to Hostile Territory, Eddie was back, but it was, like I said, more like Hostile and less like the Run that we knew of the game show. Like I said, we're going back to the game show roots. Now, if there is not a muscled up, static body laying on the ground in one of the rooms that has like a gold and gray spandex suit on, I'm going to be shocked. He's the Running Man after all. And there's going to be different rooms for each Reaper. Yeah, stalkers, you know, from the Running Man. And confirmed already, we have Canada with the maple leaf flag in the concept art. And the big one is Japan. Now, inside Japan, we've got Shikyo. I hope I pronounced that right. Probably not. The Reaper that has a red and white mask, black, red, and white mask. He's kind of like an assassin. He bears a very striking resemblance, but not enough to be I can't say a ripoff, but he's more of an homage to a Trauma favorite, Sergeant Kabuki Man. Look at the pictures. He really does look like Sergeant Kabuki Man. He really does. There's going to be a geisha with a kimono on. Her name is Kira, and it looks like her weapon is like a lollipop, but it's a saw blade. So that looks cool. And there is a Reaper named Andre somewhere inside the maze that kind of has a Plague Doctor's mask, but like a Plague Doctor as if it were a gas mask. Looks interesting. It's kind of goldish orangish, depending on how you're looking at it. Now, my idea for this, since obviously we can't go with the Chance idea because... Can't go with that idea because of the fact that there's no connection to anything in Run with it being in Hellgate Prison. Or is there? I thought of a better idea. Let's say you finally make it through. You get through all the death obstacles, you get through every single Reaper's room, and let's go with Warden Strickland as your host. And he's standing there where the throne of Chance would be listed. The original idea I had, where she was going to be the prize, and then, of course, somebody was going to come and chase you out, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Instead of that, how about a podium with the Run logo, and everybody's excited, like, you hear, like, fake audience clapping, I think that throughout the entire maze, that makes perfect sense, and he's like, okay, fine, you survived Run, congratulations, but, something to the extent of, like, the fear factor, but there's just one more thing, bonus round. And then lights flash, the Run logo flashes, and all of a sudden you hear the chainsaw rev up, and you see Eddie, and Eddie chases you out through the chain link maze, all the way outside, into the street. That would be an awesome ending. Kind of like a bonus round, a false ending, if you will. Like, you won, but you're still going to die because Eddie's going to take you out. So it'd be a great Easter egg to put Eddie in there that way, even though I think Eddie could possibly end up in Monsters and Mayhem, or I think a better idea is probably going to be in the Icon Scare Zone, but we'll talk about that as we get to it. Thought that was interesting. Speaking of that, since obviously I talked about the fact that Run is going to be the final disaster queue maze of all time. Now, a lot of people have had problems with the disaster queue mazes, basically because their queue line lies, and it tells you that you have a lot shorter amount of time than you really do. It's going to be weird not hearing the mashup of heavy metal and Rocky Horror playing, but hopefully they'll do something to fix that. I'm sure it's going to be like straight up metal, that, and obviously in the Purge, we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, I'm thinking right now that some people are happy to see Disaster Q go. I mean, it's one other venue, though. But I really can't call it Disaster Q. I can just call it Big Brick Building, because the logo for Disaster, gone with the wind. And it's actually shut off. Like, it's blocked off. So the question is, how are we exiting? Well, my idea, if they're going to block this off, which would be a good idea given the fact that you have All Night Die-In double feature just right there, instead of like walking directly into it when you get out of Run, why don't you exit through the doors that are never open in the front of Disaster Studios? Like when you're walking in, obviously they have the doors that are, you have the Disaster stage where they do the audience participation, and then you have the side doors. But there's the back doors that no one ever uses, and they go out in the streets. I think that might be a good idea, because that way you don't have the congestion of having both Scare Zone and Maze exit colliding. We'll see what happens come Wednesday. But I'm curious about that. And the final original maze of 2015, Halloween Horror Nights 25, Jack presents 25 Years of Monsters and Mayhem. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Jack is back and he invites you to join him for the ultimate reunion in horror. Universal classic monsters attacking from the shadows, meat grinding, maniacs ripping every scream from your throat, and ghosts of Horror Nights past will stalk you around every corner. You'll find yourself dying to get in and relive your most haunting memories of the past 25 years of Halloween Horror Nights. Does it sound great? This is the history lesson that I've been waiting for all along. Mazes that I had missed in the previous years are going to be in some way seen by my own eyes, which is going to be glorious. Confirmed content, including Gothic. We saw the gargoyle costume at a media event last night. Nightingales. The mask was in the media event. The Tilted Room of the Forsaken. Could see that. That's going to happen. There should be one of the many holidays of horror from HR Blood and Guts. Looking forward to that. Could possibly see Dracula, maybe going back to Legacy and Blood, which, my god, apparently is one of the scariest mazes in the history of Horror Nights. We see the jack-o'-lantern from the Hallow in 2008. And it sounds like, via a description from the USA Today article, that we're going to get a decrepit meatpacking plant with the smell of rotting meat. Soylent Green, maybe? Yeah, I think I'm talking about Meats and the return of Leave It to Cleaver. Could happen, because we did see that Sam Meats mask that was in the background, so Leave It to Cleaver, confirmed. Return to Scary Tales, we see a cottage that smells like cinnamon, could be potentially a steampunk Red Riding Hood, and we could see Goldilocks and a bear of some sort. We'll see how that works out. Jack will be sprinkled throughout the entire maze, and we're going to see him in 3 different forms. I'm sure probably more than that, but probably physically we're going to see 3 different forms. We're going to see the old Jack, the new Jack, and the current Jack. That's what I'm guessing we're going to see. 15 rooms. This is going to be the longest maze in the history of Halloween Horror Nights. And yes, it is not IP-based. Has IPs inside, but is not IP-based. So that's awesome. Even longer than The Walking Dead. I'm pretty sure The Walking Dead was around, I'm going to guess, about 12 to 14 rooms. It felt like forever, so it could have been like 38 rooms. I never would have known because it was like, it felt like it was never going to end. There's going to be lots of Easter eggs for fans. And there's going to be icons sprinkled inside. And the facade is Jack's face. That picture that we saw on Halloween Horror Nights Orlando's Twitter feed of Jack's face, and it looked like a fence, that's your facade. And there's also going to be a carnival big top somewhere throughout the maze. So I'm really, really excited about this. And on top of that, obviously when we're talking about houses, one thing I have to mention would be GATs. Guest Activated Triggers. That's right. Every single year there's red buttons and different things you can push in order to do crazy things to make yourself excited, or in some cases nail the person behind you. It depends on how you're looking at it. It just depends on what type of house you're in. So look out for the GATs. Look out for the Easter eggs. And look out, because these original mazes are no joke, without a doubt. Let's talk Scarezones. More characters than ever before. Rumor has it, once again, take it with a grain of salt, that the reason why this 10th house was scrapped at the beginning was because they wanted to put more into the streets. That's just a rumor. We never had any confirmation on it. I'm just guesstimating, because it makes perfect sense if you really think about it. Because you've heard it from numerous people, so there's got to be some sort of truth to it. Or it's a complete bold-faced lie. You never know, because I don't think anyone's going to come out and say, yeah, we spent this much money on the mazes. Yeah, we need to spend more characters in the streets. Okay. I don't know why Spinner from Death to Smoochie was working for A&D at the time, but that's just the voice I came up with. Made no sense in my head, so we'll forget about it. So, alright. Before we get to that, I do want to mention Monsters of Mayhem will be located in Soundstage 21, which the last time it was used was Halloween Horror Nights 23, and that was the location of both The Cabin in the Woods and Resident Evil Escape from Raccoon City. Now, on top of that, the queue is going to be where From Dusk Till Dawn was last year. So yeah, it's going to queue up right beside Minion Mayhem. And the interesting thing about that is that means that an American Werewolf in London is getting Plaza. So Werewolf is getting Plaza. That's crazy, isn't it? It's just interesting. And Freddy vs. Jason, on the other hand, is actually going to be getting Twister where AVP was last year. So I think that's really interesting to go into that. But Scarezones. Let's start with New York. The bloodiest scare zone in the history of Halloween Horror Nights. It's not there yet. Can't see that in concept art. Can't see that in video that has been taken by my friends in Orlando. Can't see that in pictures from my friends from Orlando. Why? Well, Rock the Universe is this weekend. And because of that, they're going to be nice to everyone. I didn't mean to do it like that, but be nice to the people attending Rock the Universe and not have anything that they might find offensive at the event. But the second Rock the Universe is over, come Monday, they're going to start throwing blood everywhere, because Psychoscareapy Unleashed is going to end up being the bloodiest scare zone in Horror Nights history. The criminally insane inmates of Shady Brook Asylum have escaped. They've unleashed their horror onto a Halloween block party in the streets of New York. Come join the partygoers as the inmates kill for the best Halloween costumes for their very own special costume contest, where you will be the judge. There's Shady Brook police cars. already in the streets. There's a crashed sanitarium bus. Has a dead body in it, by the way. It hit some barricades. It's in the streets. The Purge van from last year, completely repurposed, and it's got, like, Italian flags on it. Who knows what's going on there? This is a block party atmosphere. It's going to be a crazy, insane party when crazy, insane people come in and interrupt everything. It's going to be glorious. Now, who knows what kind of music's going to fill this area? I mean, you have block party style music, like party music, could be interesting. Now, people heard there was both Bang Bang and Beat It played back and forth, like one after another, in New York last night at Media Night. Could they be testing out for one of the new street shows that they just started a couple days ago? Or is this possibly for Psychoscareapy Unleashed? It is a block party after all. That makes perfect sense. The houses are covered with very cheap Halloween decorations. It looks exactly like a block party would look. And I think it feels perfectly. Like, everybody gives crap to Disney for Dino Land USA because it looks so chintzy. It's supposed to. That's the reason why this block party is supposed to look chintzy. Like, you would get these decorations at Publix, or you would just go to anywhere and get these decorations. Like, there's bats and there's spiders all over the walls of the building. I think it looks great. There's this gazebo, a charred gazebo. It's pretty much the center of attention here. And apparently, according to what people are saying, it's going to shoot 10-foot flames up in the air. That's crazy. There'll be shadow kills on the walls of the buildings, like kind of the windows, kind of like they did with Halloween. And it's a costume contest, which sounds a lot like the Purge auction from last year. The person who wins, the inmate that picks the person that wins, because obviously I think the inmates are going to dress their victims up, and we're going to guess who wins. That person is going to win a trophy. This trophy has a severed head on top of it, so it's like Tommy Lee Jones from Natural Born Killers. That makes the most sense to me. And it's really interesting. There's inmates in owl masks. I'm sure that's going to make Jesse really happy. And yeah, it's really interesting. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work out. Even more chaotic than the Purge Anarchy was in New York last year. Very much looking forward to this. Psychoscareapy Unleashed looks amazing. We shoot down to Hollywood. Icons HHN. It's time to take a look back at history and come face to face with the icons of the past. Iconic characters from the event's 25-year history, such as the Caretaker, the Storyteller, the Director, and the Usher, amongst others, will be found roaming the streets of Hollywood. Now, we've seen banners. Banners of the Caretaker, the Storyteller, the Usher, and the Director, kind of looking like in the Paranorman style, kind of like Tim Burton-esque. They make perfect sense. I think they may sell these in that ginormous store, which, by the way, they are turning Aftermath outside of Twister into a ginormous Halloween Horror Nights store. So they're basically doing what Hello Scream does every year at Busch Gardens in Tampa. They are creating a special store that's just for Halloween Horror Nights. This year is going to be the year that we see more Halloween Horror Nights merchandise than ever before. And the fact that it is Wednesday, I cannot wait to see what happens. And I really hope I get that purple hoodie with the new logo. I think it'd pop. I think it'd be amazing. And I think it's going to be great. We've already seen the Jack vinyl. He's got the new look. He's got a mini Cane of Souls. And how we found out is because Inside Universal posted via Springfield, via Singapore, actually. So Universal Studios Singapore showed the Jack vinyl. So we got to see it before that. And the lanyard looks amazing. Like the new logo with Jack's face. Glorious. Cannot wait to see what the merch is coming this year. I got a feeling I'm definitely going to come back with a whole lot more than I left with, if you know what I mean. So the really cool thing about this is each of the 4 icons that are being promoted, they're going to have a kill set. They're going to have a set that is going to be rolled out on the street, and twice every 45 minutes, you're going to see why they became the icon that they are. Now, during Media Night, we saw the Director's set, which apparently is supposed to be the smallest, and that thing looked huge. It kind of looked like Orville's bathroom in the Carousel of Progress, but completely different. No privacy at all around this. Then here's a zzz, and there you go. There you go. That's how the Director went. What he went to the Magic Kingdom, that's exactly how the Director got his job. He was the one who electrocuted Orville when he kept complaining about the no privacy in this place. Makes perfect sense to me. But anyway, so we saw the various props. the director's camera, we saw the caretaker's hat, we saw the storyteller's book, and we saw the usher's very familiar flashlight. Now, other things about these kill sets. This is because of Laura Wallace. Laura Wallace was actually saying these information last night during the media event. Now, the other sets include the caretaker is going to do a live autopsy. We're going to see the storyteller ripping someone's tongue out. And finally, the usher is going to bludgeon someone to death with his flashlight. You know, sometimes I just know how that feels. I understand your pain, Julian, I really do. So, this looks amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, there's going to be very familiar characters in the zone from the past years of Halloween Horror Nights. Not just icons, but characters themselves. You're definitely going to see icons such as Lady Luck. I'm sorry, Victor, it's going to happen. Fears minions. Not Fear himself, or itself, but Fears minions. The lantern-faced. You're also going to possibly see, well, you're definitely going to see Cindy. Cindy's in there. But here's a question. Could we see the Voodoo Queen from last year? I think it's a good possibility. I think she becomes an icon very soon, too. And I think we're looking at the Storyteller's year, but that's getting ahead of myself. But still, I have a feeling that Bayou of Blood will equal out to our first Voodoo-themed maze in Orlando. Because the Voodoo Queen has been so successful, and I think we see Mamba and her minion. I think we see them inside that scare zone. Who else could we see? Could we see the Crypt Keeper coming back? It's possible. You never know. One thing that I think would be a big thing is the fact that Dr. Mary Agana can be nowhere near the event. Obviously, we can't bring Bloody Mary in because of the trademark rights of Bobby Wiener. So because of that factor, who knows? Maybe La Llorona will show herself, because that's the closest you're going to get to Bloody Mary at this event, especially because of the copyright. So that's just my guess. And yes, the Rat Lady is back. You're going to see the Rat Lady's glass coffin wheeled out with her and the rats for the first time since 2010. So yes, very much looking forward to this. Icons HHN, this is going to be amazing. So we're backtracking, and we're going to the front of the park. The Avenue of the Stars. The Plaza of the Stars. Where Masquerade Unstitched was last year. Right when you first walk into the park, you walk straight into Scary Tales ScreamPunk. Bringing to life our most horrifying Scary Tales creatures, but with a new steampunk twist. It's sure to leave you screaming. Yeah, for more ways than one, if you know me personally, steampunk versions. Belle, possibly after or in the midst of being mauled by the Beast. Cinderella, who will have a glass slipper sticking out of her skull, and Prince Charming, who has one sticking out of his heart. We saw brooms, which, could we see the return of flying monkeys from Path of the Wicked? Good possibility. Steampunk Wizard of Oz, I'm positive that's going to happen. We have apples with gears, poison apples, obviously. And could we possibly see our favorite Ice Queen and Swiss Missness maybe drinking down the remnants of their dear friend? I'm frozen with anticipation. But Scary Tales, basically, it was originally known as Terrorland. Terrorland was another change from 2001 when 9/11 happened. And Terrorland was going to be a theme park. Well, obviously the word terror was kind of a no-no, so they went to Scary Tales, and it became another successful franchise. Now, the series was born, and then the sequel came in 2002, and we had Once Upon a Nightmare in 2008. Now, this is technically Scary Tales 4, but technically they can still do Scary Tales 4, or they can make it Scary Tales 5 if they go back to a maze, which I think they're going to. I actually think that fits a storyteller year. We'll see if that happens. So, it should be interesting. We get to Central Park, and Central Park is where Bayou of Blood was located last year, and this is Evil's Roots. This was the one scare zone that everyone got wrong this year. This was the one thing that everybody thought was going to be based on traditionals and trick-or-treaters. Nothing farther from the truth. It's time to be immersed in Halloween's most evil traditions in a scare zone located in Central Park. Here you'll find the event's traditional jack-o'-lanterns in the air, encountering evil fairies, humanoid bats, scarecrows, and more. Think Grown Evil from 2011, but on a whole different level. We saw those jack-o'-lanterns in the trees. We saw those scarecrows out. We saw the Wicker Man-like creations that are out in Central Park. Looks freaky as all get out. We're going to see fairies. Obviously they've got the poison ivy look, so they have, like, their leaves are just in the right places. There's trolls, there's bats, there's beasts, and even Sam Hain, or Samhain, depending on who you are, himself, is in this scare zone. But there's another thing that Michaelo talked about during Spooky Empire earlier this year, about a lost icon called Crow. And original concept art makes me think that there is a possibility we might see a version, if not Crow himself, inside Evil's Roots. This looks like it's going to be kind of like a mashup of a lot of the scare zones from Central Park's past, and maybe some that weren't in Central Park that just fit the area. Maybe this would be the actual scare zone of what evil takes root, if that was the actual theme of 2013, which of course it wasn't. But that's another story for a different time. Our final scare zone. We go to San Francisco. For the first time, legitimately, since Zombie Graw in 2010. Now, I know what you're saying. When there were walkers there in 2013, I'm aware. I saw it. And I saw them go crazy when the fireball went off. That was always entertaining. But there wasn't an official scare zone there. It was just like remnants of walkers, because they were like roaming the park. But this year there is. And it's All Night Die-In double feature. Last but certainly not least, a double feature of horror at the Cary Drive-In movie theater. Wander down the streets of San Francisco and you'll come across this theater that's been named Die-In, due to the gruesome murders that occurred. Enter if you dare. Where's the location? None other than Cary, Ohio. Every Halloween Horror Nights fan knows all about Cary, Ohio. And Cary, Ohio is the location. So basically you're walking from San Francisco and somehow you have portaled to Cary, Ohio. And you will see this amazing scare zone, which is set up like an old-timey drive-in. You have cars, you have like a dilapidated movie screen, and you have a snack bar without the C. S-N-A-K. Why? Because it's old, it's dilapidated, and may even be haunted. You never know. So, but I think that it's not going to be it's not going to not have anyone in it or anyone around it, because I'll get to that in a minute. This looks a lot like 2009's Horrorwood Die-In, and I think that's pretty much what we're looking at. This was located over by Mel's, which makes sense because Die-In should be near Mel's, but because of the ginormous stage, which I'll talk about momentarily for Jack's show, that can happen. There's way too much of a cluster there. So, because of that, they moved it over to San Francisco. Makes sense, I guess. So, we've got one cast in black and white. You're going to see the Universal Classic Monsters. You'll see Nosferatu and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Could we see maybe Norman Bates? Or Regan from The Exorcist? Possibly. I mean, you never know at this point what's going to happen. You're going to have like an old-timey like musical themes and familiar scores, and on the dilapidated movie screen, you're actually going to see some of the famous scenes of these films and famous scenes of these monsters that are located inside the scare zone. But if you go later on in the night, or earlier in the night, depending on how they're casting, you'll run into contemporary horror. Horror icons such as Freddy, Jason, The Purge, The Strangers. And yes, I really believe that that snack bar is going to be the location of everyone's favorite horror couple, Chucky and Tiffany. And I think we're going to get a version of Hollywood's Insult Emporium involved inside All Night Die-In. I think that makes perfect sense. Who else could be there? Could we see Dr. Hannibal Lecter? Maybe Beetlejuice? Possibly, maybe Harry Warden from My Bloody Valentine. He was involved in Horrorwood, so I mean, it's possible. The Thing, maybe? One major one I really want to see is Ghostface. Could happen. Different rights. Fun World has different rights than someone else. I'll stop. Could it be a nod to 2016? Could we see Bagul, maybe? Could we see Sam, maybe? You never know. Guess we'll find out. Looks awesome. It really does. This is going to be a great scare zone, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Roaming Hordes. This year we got 3. Yes. the regular Chainsaw Drill Team. Looks like we're going to have prisoners. Looks like they're going to be female prisoners, kind of like the Hordes 2012, my first year. And yes, my friend Heather will be extremely excited. We are getting the Clown Saw Drill Team. Yes, clowns with chainsaws. It will happen. There will be nearly no escape. Unless you're in Springfield or Diagon Alley or London itself. That's the only way you're going to be able to escape, because they're going to be everywhere. Chainsaw maniacs everywhere, around every corner. I mean, Vic a long time ago walked out of the bathroom, had a chainsaw right against his junk. So yeah, anything can happen. Anything is possible, so watch your back this year. It's going to be crazy. Let's talk about the shows. Oh boy. Jack's Carnage returns. Yes. Sounds amazing, actually. It really does. Jack is taking Halloween Horror Nights back in a blaze of murderous mayhem with his army of feared followers and his companion in Carnage, Chance. Remember, Jack always has the last laugh. It's a massive set. Everyone thought this was just going to be for Rock the Universe. And then when they started putting set pieces on top of there, you realized right away, hey, there's one thing to say, and you know what? That might be Jack's blender underneath that tarp. But wait a minute. There's aerials. There's props. There's a baby in a cage. There's Dungeon of Terror logo. Yeah, this is definitely for Jack's show. But if you look right now, at this very moment, you'll see that it is all taken down. It is homogenized for Rock the Universe. As I make the, I need to have like the pixie sound when I do that. It's kind of like the nod to the Comedy Warehouse, actually, when they used to mention Disney. It's like, Disney, yay! So yeah, that's one of those things that, this is from Sir Owen Disney, by the way, so there you go. So yeah, there's going to be circus atmosphere, there's going to be some grand illusions, there's going to be chaos, mayhem, I'm sure there's going to be people getting executed, I'm sure that's going to definitely happen. We saw that chair, the yellow chair that was in the Twitter picture with, it looks like it has spikes on it, which has a red blood stain down it. So obviously that chair is meant for victims and victims alike. May actually be the same chair that was for the victim inside of the first room of Giggles and Gore Incorporated last year. I think it was, actually, to be honest. There's going to be scantily clad dancers, because can't have a show without scantily clad dancers. And obviously, like Mike said, Jack and Chance are lunatics. So yeah. Anything goes. Really looking forward to this. Really looking forward to seeing what they actually come up with in this. And knowing what I know, I'm very excited based upon what I know. So I'm really interested to see exactly how this comes off. And as long as everything lines up, this is the last thing I'm doing on preview night. So as everything lines up correctly, unless I ended up hitting a house on the way out, like, or anything like that, like hit that and then go straight to Asylum in Wonderland, which might be the case, so I can get the 9th house in. That's what I'm thinking I may do. I really think this may be the last thing I do on preview night. So, and that's what a great way to go. Or a Batman line. What a way to go. So, and I'm planning, yes, I'm going to take you guys with me, because it sounds like I'm going to be getting some video in the Scarezones, and I'm going to be taking video of this show. The only show, because obviously the other show is something I love very much, and that is Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. Now, for a reason, it is not exactly the same like I'd like it to be this year, but the rumors, they were false, and the Bill and Ted that you've known for the last several years are back. Maybe for the last time, but maybe not. Who knows? We'll find out sooner rather than later, I'm guessing. But they're back, and they're back with another brand new show. I could never describe the hilarious insanity of that show. It has to be seen to be believed. Party on, dudes. The set looks like Mad Max. It's got a tinge to that. We saw Bill and Ted Tombstone, so could be interesting. We saw Fake Money with Kim Kardashian on the $2 bill and Kanye West on the $100 bill, because it makes sense. There's a can of sucky beer, which, God, I hope that's not a vacation reference. There's a Universal Studio Guide, which is interesting, because I had the idea about Donald Trump buying Universal and trying to either find a new Bill and Ted or end Bill and Ted because of its content. So this also would equal out to bringing in the new Bill and Ted that would take over for 26, if that were to happen. But we don't know at this point. I think that may, you never know. But we will see Donald Trump for sure. There's a plush dragon, so who knows, maybe someone could be puppet dying again. Maybe Smaug returns in one form or another. Should be great. There's a deflated football, so Deflategate comes back. I'm not a sports guy, so if I got that wrong, sorry. I'm sure Uptown Funk will be a big part of this, because that song is the real. And I have a feeling that Jurassic World will be definitely involved in this. It's either Mad Max or Jurassic World. I think it could be either one. Mad Max style comes to mind with like the flame coming from the set. I'll see the set in next week, so I'm looking forward to that. And if you're at Rock the Universe, there's like a worship service that's actually going to be inside Fear Factor Live's arena. So if you were at Rock the Universe and you can take pictures of the Bill and Ted set, please do. And I'll share them with me on my Twitter. You know how to get hold of me. So yeah, like Dr. Jimmy said, maybe the joke comes back. I'm Chris Pratt, and here's a dead dinosaur on my back. That would be funny. I'm sure we get the Avatar joke back. The sex with our sex with our tails back. I think that comes back. Probably shooting on Star Wars potentially. Maybe going after Marvel, and the fact that Disney can't really use Marvel on this coast. So I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe Frozen will come back. Who knows? Should be a really great Bill and Ted. Looking forward to it. I'm sure Taylor Swift will return. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Bill and Ted this year. One thing I'm always excited about. So more information about Media Night and a couple of things that I found out recently. There's going to be more chainsaws than ever before, like I mentioned before. And Mike is now open to fan favorites of previous years coming back in their former form. So we could see that 9th house every year maybe be a nod to a house from a previous year, completely as it was. So look for that. Yeah, I called that one. There's plans in place right now for 26 and 27. And the idea that I've had for the longest time is leading up to 30. Could we be going back to 2015 being the beginning of the return of icons? Jack has his own year this year. That would bring the caretaker to 26, the director to 27, the storyteller to 28, and the usher to 29. And yes, in the 30, we go back to Terra Coentus and bring the Terra Queen to Halloween Horror Nights 30. That's what I think may end up happening. It's a possibility. Don't know, but I think it might. It's just a guess. And the reason I did it in that order is because that was the original order that they were brought in, starting back in 2000 when Jack was brought in. So, makes sense. And we could see a proper tribute to Wes Craven, because obviously Wes Craven passed away recently, and Freddy himself and Nightmare on Elm Street is a tribute itself. Could have been a double tribute this year, but we'll see if anything changes with that. And you never know. Who knows? Maybe something will come up closing weekend. You never know. I can dream, can't I? So, we could see a proper tribute, but Freddy vs. Jason is a tribute in itself. The Walking Dead. Walking Dead is very tall scenic. Sounds like the church is probably going to be the facade, that's what I'm guessing. We're going to see the food bank basement. We're going to see walkers in waist-deep water, which is something I'm really interested in. And there's going to be more walkers than even last year's biggest maze in the history of Halloween Horror Nights, end of the line. I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm curious based on some things I heard. The Purge, speed metal playing, fog, strobe lights. It's an original take on the property. Given the fact that The Purge 3 got pushed to next year, there's really not much to work with. But we have characters from the last two movies, and they're going to be everywhere. So this is an original take. I guess you can kind of call this, I don't know, maybe The Purge in Woodsboro, potentially? Yeah, I don't know. That's a guess. Who knows? It could be The Purge anywhere, really, because The Purge is a home invasion movie that can be taken as a home invasion movie. So who knows what happens inside a house that you randomly stumble into, and now you are running for your life for the second time in the event because you ran for your life and run. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. So, other things we want to talk about. We're going to see some very popular characters from The Purge. The Polite Stranger will be returning. Ghoulface, Big Daddy, the new Founding Fathers themselves, and of course, maybe we'll see the Auctioneer in one form or another. Maybe she'll be outside. Who knows? She got that Linda McMahon look going on. Maybe she'll be accosting people outside in the queue line before they enter the maze. And it's a possibility that we could see cars out in the maze and all sorts of chaos outside, just like they had in the Scarezone last year. Insidious. Oh, God. Based on all three films, terrifying. Scares around every corner, complete misdirection, and it seems a lot Charles said it seems a lot longer than previous mazes. Now, could we see appearances from characters? Oh, yes, we will. We can see the Man Who Cannot Breathe, Lipstick Face, as well as the Bride in Black, who get to go into the Further itself, and you could see Tucker and Specs, and, of course, Elise Rainier is going to be in there. So, yeah, looking forward to this, and based upon what I saw last night, Insidious has jumped on my list of most anticipated for this year, but we'll get to that a little bit later. American Werewolf in London, completely identical to 2013, with a couple of notable exceptions. Number one is the fact that there's an extra werewolf puppet inside the maze this year. Number two, the werewolves are different. No, the rumor was not true. They did not go with Hollywood's, but they went with Maggie FX, and they created the original molds. So they used the original molds to create the molds for Orlando's maze this year, which I'm very much looking forward to. So it should be really great. Freddy vs. Jason will be a third Jason with the Camp Crystal Lake facade starting us out. We're going to move into 1428 Elm Street, and then we're going to get it on battle time, because Freddy vs. Jason are going to fight. It's going to be partly screens and partly live actors. Should be really interesting to see how that works out. And yes, there will be a different victor every time. When Jason wins, obviously we know he's got Freddy's head, which of course will wink at us, in his hands. But when Freddy wins, what's he going to cut a promo on everyone? Maybe he'll like put his claw through Freddy's gloved claw through Jason's chest. Maybe that's going to be the finale, and then he laughs maniacally, and that's how we end the house. I mean, you never know. Big news, not media, but something that needs to be mentioned. It's official. Diagon Alley will be open for Halloween Horror Nights, and rumor has it it's going to be open until midnight. And also rumor has it that it's going to be a AP-only Stay and Scream location. But that's not been completely confirmed. Now, Stay and Scream looks like it's going to be located in Finnegan's, which I'm going to guess everything this year could possibly get to, which means that there is a chance that we could actually get everything with the exception of An American Werewolf in London if you stay and Scream. One of the nights you can stay and Scream and get 2 mazes instead of 1. So my guess, Finnegan's will get you immediate access to Freddy vs. Jason and Body Collector's Recollections. Lucy Plaza, which I have no idea how they're doing that since they're doing construction there for Hello Kitty, obviously, could get you to Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters Mayhem, and potentially right around the corner for Asylum Wonderland 3D. Diagon Alley could be the only way to get into Insidious, and could be a possible way to get us into Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. And on top of that, if they go with Springfield, I think it's the location of The Purge and The Walking Dead, The Living and the Dead. So that's what I'm going to guess right now. I don't know for a fact, but that's what I'm going to go with. So almost an hour in, we're going to go into it. My most anticipated and least anticipated mazes and scare zones for 2015. Let's start with the scare zones. My least anticipated scare zone is Evil's Roots. The only reason why really is because it's going to be the one that I'm going to have the hardest time getting to. Probably because I'm not going to be able to get there, because getting through Central Park during Jack's show is going to be a nightmare, to say the least. So I don't think that's going to be something I can work out. So it's going to be hard to actually visit it. Once I get in the back of the park, it's going to be hard to go back through it. So it's going to be probably something I don't see that much. So it's one of those things that looks good, but it's got to be low on the list. My number 4 is Scary Tales ScreamPunk. It's something I'm looking forward to, but for personal reasons, it's kind of something that I'm kind of not looking forward to, but it's something I'm very much looking forward to at the same time. That makes no sense. I'm sure it doesn't. But notice that Plaza of the Stars usually seems to be the location of the scare zone that I'm usually in the most, because it's how you exit and enter the park. So who knows how much time I spend in it, but we'll see what characters we get out of that scare zone. Should be fun. My number 3 is Psychoscareapy Unleashed. Why? Because it's going to be chaos, anarchy, in all the right ways. Looking forward to see a Halloween block party gone wrong. Looking forward to the costume contest, and it's going to be really cool to see that gazebo burst flames 10 feet up in the air. Should be a cool photo op. My number 2 is All Night Die-In double feature. Really looking forward to this. It's going to be cool to see both the black and white cast and the contemporary, the color cast. I think that's going to be really fun to see who actually ends up inside that scare zone. That's going to be really fun. And the fact that we're basically in a Cary, Ohio drive-in movie theater, complete with cars and a snack bar and everything, I think it's going to be great. We've got the movies playing in front of us, so I think it's going to be a real immersive experience, and it should be really fun to be a part of. My number 1, without a doubt, has to be Icons HHN. Why? Because obviously I'm very excited to see the icons of the past and see some characters of the past. It's really cool to see the Voodoo Queen yet again, because she's super awesome. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see exactly who they toss into that scare zone, and I'm very much looking forward to these kill sets they have with the caretaker, the usher, the director, and the storyteller. Should be really fun, and I'm more looking forward to that than anything else. But you can't go wrong with any of the scare zones this year. They're all on point, and they all look amazing. Here's where I get the heat. My most anticipated mazes of this year. My number 9 right now is The Walking Dead, The Living and the Dead. Obviously, I don't watch the show. I was not a fan of last year's. It was cool, scenic, and they really tried, but not being a fan of the show, I felt like something was missing. And I think that's how Tristan feels when it comes to Monsters of Mayhem. He's not really going to get the full oomph out of it because he's not really going to know the source material. Kind of like how I'm feeling with The Walking Dead. But I'm really curious to see these waist-deep walkers and how that's going to work out. I think that should be fun. More walkers than ever before. I'm really curious to see that. It should be fun. It may just be a gimmick, but it may actually be the case. And the last time I enjoyed a Walking Dead maze was inside the Parade building, where they're going to be again this year, which is something I'm looking forward to. My number 8 is Asylum in Wonderland 3D. I hear the booing now, I really do. The return to 3D to Halloween Horror Nights for the first time since 2013. And the first 3D maze that was not in a sprung tent. Yeah, it's going to be a new location for a 3D maze, which is going to be a lot more light not getting in, given the fact that you're basically going into the Shrek Theater being a soundstage. So I think this is going to be awesome. It's going to pop really well, like vibrant colors. See a lot of characters you're used to, a lot of misdirection, a lot of craziness. I'm pretty sure that the tunnel comes back, and I really think that that's going to be how you enter the rabbit hole. I think that should be fun. Looking forward to it. My number 7, I'm ready for the hate mail. My number 7 is Freddy vs. Jason. I know, I get this 100%. I really do. A lot of people my age, younger and older, all grew up on Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. I get that 100%, but don't forget, my introduction to horror was Ghostface and Trickster from Brain Scan. So, that being said, I was never majorly into the Nightmare movies or the Friday the 13th movies, so I don't have as much anticipation for this. Freddy vs. Jason is kind of a guilty pleasure movie, honestly. Like I said, it caused the most, trouble when it came to those ginormous banners you saw at your movie theater when they were promoting it. Yeah, that pretty much created like a war between all my fellow cast members to try to figure out who was going to get it. It's funny who ended up with it in the end. It wasn't me, but if someone else thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, it should be interesting. The one thing I'm really excited about is the thing that AVP did not give me last year, and that is the fact that we're going to see a real battle. We're going to actually see people fight, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to see Freddy and Jason actually battle, so I'm really curious to see how that goes off. I really think that, like I said, Freddy needs to get, powerbombed through a table or something. That'd be kind of cool, but who knows if that'll happen. Probably not. I think Freddy's more of a moonsault guy. Who knows? It just depends. That's what happens when you're, more of a cruiserweight style. Anyway, my number 6 is Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. This was a little bit higher before, and then I actually got blown away by something I heard, so that's the reason why I had to drop a little bit. I'm really excited about this original. Should be great, and if the crouch is returning, I think the crouch is going to be in Run. I really do, because I think you're going to be crouching in order to get away from the chainsaw maniac that's right above your head. I think that actually might happen. I think that might be a good way to utilize the crouch. Chain link fences all around you, just like The Walking Dead. I really think that would be a great idea to use that. I think Run's going to be brilliant. I can't wait to see what countries they use for the Reapers. Looking forward to that. I really can't wait to see all the nods to the Running Man. I'm really curious to see if they go with my false ending that I've been talking about for a long time. Should be fun to see Hellgate Prison, too. I'm really curious to see how big that facade is. And the fact that it's the last disaster cube maze of all time. What a way to go. Really, what a way to go out on. Should be really fun. And I'm really curious to see exactly how it exits out, honestly. Should be interesting. My number 5 is The Purge. For personal reasons, 100%. My Purge maze, obviously, was something I wanted in 2013, back when Hollywood got the Scarezone for the first time. We got the Purge Anarchy Scarezone in New York last year. Hollywood got it as well, and Hollywood got it for the Terror Tram this year. And I think they'll get it for the house next year. But we got the house this year, so we won't talk about why we got the Purge this year, but it looks to me like the Purge is going to look very familiar, and I really think that the Purge is going to make me want to scream in every way possible. I really think that there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to notice inside this maze, and if it does end up on Unmasking the Horror, which I've got my fingers crossed that it does, yeah, it's going to be a really great time when there's lights are on, and I can see what should have been, what could have been, and what I truly believe still will be. That's the reason why it's so high on my list. Plus, there's going to be chaos and anarchy, and I really think it's going to be fun, honestly. My number 4 is An American Werewolf in London. It is 1A and 1B of my favorite house of all time, combined with Halloween, obviously. Now, granted, I've only been going since 2012, so I have a small list, but I mean, I have a very impactful list, because there's really not been, many duds in the years I've been going. I mean, we won't talk about 2012. 2013 is my first, real year of going to the event, because that's the year I actually got to experience everything. Fully got to experience everything numerous times. But the thing about it is, An American Werewolf is incredible. I love this maze. We got to go through it. Me and Joe got to go through the second half of it by ourselves last year. That was awesome. Last year, 2013, that was awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing the new werewolf puppets. And again, when it comes to Masking the Horror, let me take a selfie. Yeah, it's going to be more puppet selfies, just like we were with the Xenomorphs last year in AVP. Really curious to see what they change, really curious to see what they keep, and I'm really curious because this looks incredible. My number 3. This is a lot higher than I ever thought it would be. I made the original list and I was like, wow, this thing jumped heavily when I got some information. And my number 3 is Insidious. Now, I know what you're saying. Oh, and you hate this movie. You're right, I don't. I don't like the first one at all. The second one and third one, like I said, they're fine. But I really see the maze potential. And I went back and I watched Hollywood's Maze, and it got me excited. And then I started seeing pictures and photos from Orlando's, and I was like, well, okay, this is getting creepy. And then I saw the somewhat walkthrough of the maze from USA Today in that video, and I was sold. This is going to be the darkest and creepiest house of the year, quite possibly one of the creepiest houses of all time. I really think this maze has got nightmare fuel written all over it. We're going to see everyone inside this maze, and I think there's not going to be any breathing room in any way possible. I think we're going to go from light to dark to flash right before your eyes. I think it's going to be really hard to see, and I think it's going to be really hard to navigate. And yeah, we were posting in chat, Tyler and Jeremy and Cameron and Ian, they were posting the pictures, and there's this picture from Rugrats with Tommy, Chucky, Phil, and Lil. They're walking like hand in hand, and I believe Ian posted a picture that basically was like, this is us going through Insidious. Never were a truer statement spoken, sir. It's freaky. I was like, it gives me chills just thinking about it, and it's something I'm really looking forward to. My number 2 was my number 1 for the longest time, but it's kind of like I said, 1A and 1B this year. My number 2 is going to be Body Collectors, Recollections. I'm really looking forward to this. Ever since I first heard about Codename Blizzard, I was very excited about it. And to be able to see the Body Collectors in the flesh, Vic has told me so many amazing things about them. And I'm really curious to see how their origin story should be really fun, given the fact that we're in the middle of a blizzard, and there's craziness going on. We're in Shady Brook during the 1800s. Should be really fun. And I think there's going to be a lot of really cool things inside this maze. And I'm curious to see about that little Easter egg about the baby maybe born in Shady Brook. Curious what that might be. My number 1, without question, without any doubt, and once I really thought about it, is Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters Mayhem. Like I said before numerous times on here and on Popcasts and on various podcasts, this is my most anticipated. Why? Because it is a history lesson I've needed for a long time. I've been hearing nothing but great things about these mazes of the past. Now I'm finally going to experience just a little teeny tiny bit of them, and I'm very excited about it. Get to see Jack in every single form this year. I said in November Jack would be everywhere. A show, a street, a scare zone. He would be the icon. He would have everything, and he does. He has everything, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's what we've got. That is my list. So quick before we take it home here, I'm going to list my scare zones. My number 5, Evil's Roots. My number 4, Scary Tales, ScreamPunk. My number 3, Psychoscareapy Unleashed. My number 2, All Night Die-In Double Feature. And my number 1 most anticipated scare zone of Halloween Horror Nights 25 is Icon's HHN. My most anticipated list for mazes. My number 9, The Walking Dead, The Living and the Dead. Number 8, Asylum in Wonderland 3D. Number 7, Freddy vs. Jason. Number 6, Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. Number 5, The Purge. Number 4, An American Werewolf in London. Number 3, Insidious. Number 2, Body Collectors, Recollections. And my most anticipated maze of Halloween Horror Nights 25, Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters Mayhem. And as we speak right now, I will be experiencing one or more of those next week. So that being said, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank everybody for watching Pop lately. We got a lot of great things coming on the horizon, a lot of new things to announce, but I can't announce them just yet. Still waiting on a couple T's and lowercase J's to be crossed at this point, and then everything will be good for me to talk about it. So, real quick before we get off here, I gotta say, you can buy your Halloween Horror Nights tickets right now online, HalloweenHorrorNights.com, and you can check out the Halloween Horror Nights dining plan, you can get information on the Character Dining Experience, and you can RSVP for the annual pass holder event nights, which are Friday and Saturday of the first 2 weekends of the event. And all that information down here in the description bar. While you're at it, also, you can follow Halloween Horror Nights Orlando on Twitter. It's at Horror Nights ORL. And you can check Halloween Horror Nights Orlando out on Snapchat, HHN Orlando. And while you're at it, my friend Christopher Ripley wrote a book. And this book is called Halloween Horror Nights, The Unofficial Story and Guide. And it is located on Amazon.com, and that is actually going to be in the description bar, and you can find it at most of your favorite brick-and-mortar bookstores all across the country. And you can follow me on Twitter at Sir Owen Disney. Like our Facebook fan page. It's Sir Owen Disney Pop. Search for Sir Owen Disney and Pop. Check us out on MoviePilot.com. All the Halloween Horror Nights content goes straight there. It is MoviePilot.com/Sir Owen Disney. And if you have an iPhone, iPod, iPad, or any sort of iTunes connected device, you can download our brand new mobile app. It's under Sir Owen Disney on iTunes. You can check out some great Halloween Horror Nights forums located at Horror Night Nightmares, Orlando United, and Orlando Informer, and some great Halloween Horror Nights related sites like HHNCrypt.com, DesigningFear.com, and the good people Matt and Quint of Neozaz.com. They do a really spectacular podcast every single week called The Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights. I'll be meeting up with Matt one or more of the nights for the event, so I'm looking forward to that. Should be really fun. Check out Neozaz.com. A lot of great podcasts, and Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights must listen, especially if you're a fan of the event. Follow the Halloween Horror Nights Updaters on YouTube. You can check out Horror Nights Updaters and their singular channels. My friend John, Psychomassacre Films, my friend Vic, Dr. Emmett Brown 1, my friend Neil, UK HHN, my friend Darren, The Red Steel TV, and my friend Kane, Deadly Fear 1283, as well as David, The Crazy Englishman. You can also check out my other friends, my good friend Tristan, HHN Fan 16, my friend James, HHN Updated 1, as well as my friend Matt, HHN Trogdor, my friend Ian, Scream 101 Ian, my friend Jeremy, Jeremy Films with 2 Z's, my friend Tyler, Homemade Haunt, and my friend Cameron, Jack Reaper, which HHN Jack Reaper, which is one of those long titles, doesn't really have a short name, so that's in the description bar. You can also check out HHN Legacy, my friend Jose from Thrill Seeker Network, my friend Aaron from First Class Horror, and Clarence, SWDP, which has one of those long titles as well. And check out some great Halloween Horror Nights content from the incomparable Dr. Jimmy. It's under Documo. My good friends Tim and Jen from the Tim Tracker. Also, Kyle, Mary, and Jesse from View from the Cheap Seats, as well as my friend Mark, Man in the Mala Vest, and my friend Liz, Disco Lizita. So that being said, everyone, if you see me in the parks for the next 3 weeks, say hello. And I got a surprise for you. Sounds like we got a popcast coming. We're going to talk about the pop meetups on October 1st and 4th, and I'll give you all those details coming up this Saturday. So if anything changes, I'll let you guys know on Twitter. And I will see most of you at the event, and if you see me, I usually will be wearing a wrestling t-shirt of some sort. And if it's raining, I'll have a poncho, 2 ponchos on, and probably an umbrella. Most likely an umbrella and 2 ponchos, because I like to stay dry. So say hello, and just shout out my name if you see me. If you're a character and you see me in a house, then yeah, go ahead, call me out. I welcome it. I really do. It should be fun. Make it more of an individual experience to have like a character literally know your name. Should be fun. So that being said, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. Enjoy Halloween Horror Nights 25. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I gotta say about that.